Well, for more, I want to bring in Steve Pruitt. He's managing partner with Watts Partners and former staff director of the House of Representatives Budget Committee. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, with this being President Obama's final State of the Union address, what are some of your expectations?
Well, I would like to see him go out on a high note. I think this is an opportunity not only to tell what this administration has done the last 7 years, but to kind of raise the bar in terms of the people's expectations for the future. And I hope that is a good measure of what we'll hear tonight. My major concern, though, is that the battles that lie ahead for both the White House and the Congress, I don't think that we're going to see the kind of gridlock that we've seen before. But I think.
And why is that?
Well, I think a lot of the leverage has gone out of the issue because of last year's budget agreement. We don't have the deadlines that would normally position us to have those kind of fights. But I think getting to those compromises in the context of this being an election year in the U.S. is going to be very interesting in terms of made for at the end of there.
It's everything from income inequality, health care, immigration, gun control. Do you think there's anything that he's going to steer clear of?
Oh, absolutely. I think we won't see any major push for tax cuts. Some form that will be discussed and possibly acted on. There will be some trade issues that have to be dealt with. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a deal come along where within the context of the current budget agreement, there's some reprioritization of spending so that we can get more into job creation activities. Because the economy, while it's kind of puttering along, we haven't seen the kind of upticks that we've seen historically out of recoveries, A. B, wages are dragging because we don't have the same kind of economy as we had before. And B, since we passed the big transportation package last year, we need to really move aggressively to get more into local construction and get those activities up and running faster, so spending more there.
And if there are perhaps 2 or 3 key issues that you really think he's going to be focusing on to really appeal to the American people, what do you think that'll be?
Well, the number one has to be jobs. For the entire time I've been involved in politics, the number one thing that's on people's minds is jobs. Number 2 will be security. I think national security, the whole issue around terrorism, forward from there, security, personal security in terms of your ability to both buy food, clothes on your kids, send them to college, educate them in the meantime. Those kind of concerns are still going to be front and center.
Now, one of the things that also made a lot of headlines was gun control. Obviously, a lot of tragedies to look back on over the course of his term. How much of a mention do you think that's going to get?
Well, I think the real issue, as I view it on gun control, is going to come down to enforcing the laws that we have on the books. I hate to put it in those terms, being a more, I think, progressive thinker, but if we can just get more enforcement activity, you know, that's what has been sort of the partisan debate. You know, why do we need new restrictions when we're not enforcing the laws that are on the books? So the real test will come in terms of Congress providing the resources to actually enforce the laws. If that happens, then, you know, gun control will be whatever gun control is at that point.
Now, one of the ways that President Obama was able to make progress was by having a number of executive orders and memoranda that created a lot of controversy for Republicans who perhaps said he was overstepping. Are there better ways to achieve these goals other than going around Congress like this?
Well, there are always better ways, and that would be to get some resolve from Congress. And given, the fact that the threat of gridlock has been reduced, maybe some of those things that are still on the agenda can be addressed going forward. But at the end of the day, unless there's a Democrat elected in November, by a stroke of a pen, as many of the Republican candidates are pointing out, they can eliminate much of that. So it's going to put a much higher premium on what happens in this year's campaign. The courts are going to play a role in that. I think there are going to be some arguments there that, quite frankly, President Obama will win. And I think going from that, it just kind of gets back to the old la-di-da about why we can't get along together. So.
Well, we'll definitely find out some of those answers shortly when he actually gives his State of the Union. Thank you so much for joining us.